yourself, why am I feeling so tired this week?
Dusty, you just tried to double your run volume over the last 2 weeks, you idiot.
Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm going to talk about 3 important triathlon training tools. I came up with a list of 3 things, and I really think if you're not doing some of these that they can really help take your triathlon training and racing to the next level. So let's get right into it with number 1, and that is keeping track of your training using a basic journal or a training app. So you can make this as simple as you'd like and just use a journal and a pen, or you can make it as not complicated but as analytical as you'd like and use one of the training apps that's available to us, such as Training Peaks. That's what a lot of us use. And basically make sure that you are starting to track your training. So if you're going the simple route and using a journal, and say you're just getting started in triathlon and you don't have any idea on how to break down your training, doesn't matter, still keep track of it. You can say, I went out for a 20-mile ride and I felt good, and make sure on the days that you didn't feel good, you write down maybe why you didn't feel good, didn't get enough sleep, didn't fuel enough. And eventually over time, you're going to start to accumulate months and months of this data. And eventually you can look back and see when you started to make big gains or when you actually went backwards with your fitness. Or you could be asking yourself, why am I feeling so tired this week?
Dusty, you just tried to double your run volume over the last 2 weeks, you idiot.
And looking back at your training logs is usually a great way to find answers to these questions. And then on the flip side, you can get really analytical and use a training app such as Training Peaks to really dive into every little analytic you could possibly think of. You can even fine tune it down into what gear ratio works best for you, what cadence you're optimal at. Even if you don't care about any of it, still keep track of it a little bit, so maybe one day in the future you can hand it over, all your data over to a coach, and at least he or she can look at it and maybe give you some pointers on where you might need help in certain areas that you might not have thought of. So if you haven't started recording your training yet, make sure you do, because that which gets measured gets improved. Alright, number 2 on the list is a power meter or a smart trainer, or ideally both, so you can have a power meter and actually get some data when you ride outside. And a smart trainer is amazing. A lot of us have them these days, and using a program like Zwift or Trainer Road or the other ones that are out there can really help take your cycling to the next level and just help you understand wattage and riding with power. And I should mention, having a power meter or a smart trainer is number 2 on my list, but it's absolutely not necessary. They do cost a lot of money, and you might not have the budget to use these as training tools. But if you can, or you've kind of been on the fence about getting a power meter or a smart trainer, I highly recommend that you do. So about 10 years ago, very few triathletes trained with a power meter, and almost no one had a smart trainer. Back then it was mostly just CompuTrainer. I'm sure many of you haven't even heard of that company anymore. And usually those people that had a power meter were the very elite triathletes, or those that were really wealthy. Today that's certainly not the case. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would be willing to bet it's more than half of triathletes either own a smart trainer or a power meter. And I would say, as an average, amateur triathletes, as far as cycling goes, have gotten way faster in the last few years because of training with a power meter or a smart trainer. And I could make a video that's 20 minutes long just talking about training with a power meter or a smart trainer, but all you have to know is training with power and being able to understand your own power, your FTP, what sort of watts you can hold in a race is unbelievably important and can take your performance to a whole new level. I've actually been coaching this one athlete for about 11 months now, and we have improved his FTP, his functional threshold power, by almost 20%. With relatively low training volume, we've actually gotten his FTP over 300 watts, and he's just crushing it. But all of his workouts are very structured, and he trains with a smart meter, so he has what's called erg mode, and we've ridden on Zwift together a couple of times. And as a training tool, I absolutely cannot speak highly enough of training with a power meter or a smart trainer. Alright, last up on my list is something probably a lot of you have, but a lot of you neglect all the time, and that is a foam roller. So I've reviewed plenty of recovery tools on this channel, but when it comes right down to it, I would say the most important tool for recovery is just a basic foam roller. All it's going to take is 5 minutes a day to maintain some looseness in your legs and hopefully work some knots away when they develop. Even doing 5 minutes every other day is probably more than a lot of you are doing now. And it's important. We all know how important foam rolling is. Barely any of us do it enough. A lot of the foam rollers out there on the market now will last you many, many years, if not forever. And it's an inexpensive investment. To get a nice foam roller, you're probably looking at like 30 to 50 bucks. And it's something that's vital for recovery. I always shake my head at triathletes who, will push super hard in training, do an extra session even though they don't need it, but refuse or are too lazy or whatever. They just do not foam roll. You're pushing your body every day. If you're a runner, cyclist, triathlete, you need to take care of yourself, and that doesn't mean just getting a massage once a month. All it takes is a few minutes every day on the foam roller, and that'll help keep you fresh and loose, and maybe even help keep some injuries away. And that's my list of 3 important triathlon training tools. If you'd like to see my review on this cool new recovery product I did that's called a chirp wheel, you can check out that video here. And if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more everything running, triathlon, and nutrition related.